Okay, good morning, everybody. It's 11:30, so we'll get started with this webinar. Thank you all. For those of you, I can see the number of attendees joining in as we speak. So thank you all for making time for this very interesting session on tiding the COVID crisis, a macro perspective. We have two very special guests today, Ms. Sarika Pradhan and Ms. Neeru Sharma both from Wipro, senior, very senior folks, senior employees of the HR department. And they're here to share with us how an organization like Wipro is sort of ahead of the curve in many senses in dealing with COVID, work from home, a lot of these issues that we are sort of hearing about on a daily basis. So this is a good, this webinar will give everybody a good insight into how Wipro is dealing with some of the challenges that COVID has thrown up. Just to give you a little bit of a background about our participants, Ms. Sarika Pradhan, she is currently General Manager, Human Resources, and heads the Behavioral Development Function, also known as L&D in other words. She is also the POSH chairperson for Wipro Limited. That is, she is the chairperson of the internal committee at Wipro. In her current role, she's brought in a lot of transformational changes using technology as a lever and has helped build a strong talent pool for Wipro Limited. As the chairperson of the IC, she has institutionalized a lot of awareness and compliance measures in the organization and put in place a robust framework mechanism to drive this important charter across the globe. Sarika has been the HR head for a number of business units in Wipro in the last 17 years. There is a lot more I could tell you about Sarika, but I think you would all benefit from hearing this from Sarika firsthand. So Sarika, welcome, good morning, and thank you for making time for this webinar.
Good morning, Tony. Good morning to all the people who have joined the webinar and to my colleague Neeru, who has joined along with me. So Tony had asked me to share a little more about myself, but I think he has said more than enough about me. Yes, overall 20 years of experience. And it has been throughout in HR. After my MBA, I come from a place, Bhubaneswar, which is known as the land of temples. And many of you would have visited the place. But Bangalore has become my second home. I came to Bangalore, joined Wipro, and have settled down over here. Have two kids, one daughter and one son. And my husband works with Accenture as a managing director. So that's about me. We can start with the webinar today. And the session is very interesting, and make it more interesting by asking a lot of questions, which I will try my possible best to respond to each one of you. We all are walking together in this journey, the journey known as the new normal after COVID-19. So how, as a team or as a group or as a community, we tide the COVID crisis? So I'll give you a macro perspective, a few salient points on people manager mantras. How do you work from home effectively? And I presume the entire team in the webinar are working from home with the lockdown across the globe, including our country. So the first one, just to give you a 30,000 feet level, where are we right now in terms of the life and livelihood paradox? So if you look at large enterprises like the IT industry, like the farmers, you take the examples of Mahindra and Mahindra, the Reliance, the Wipros, the Infosys, most of them or all of them have a balanced balance sheet and capital reserves. And they are focusing on that more and more, including the liquidity aspect. And a lot of focus on the holistic employee well-being. In the medium to long term, what are we planning to do? We want to take a lot of tough decisions, which may not be a good thing, but we need to take to keep our enterprises profitable. So there will be hiring freeze, there will be some job losses, there will be cost containment actions, and there will be a few unpleasant decisions. But that's the fact in life. And if we come to the informal sector or the small scale organizations, here the liquidity will be a big challenge. Employee livelihood and business solvency will be a big challenge. And coming to the medium to long term, they may take government or institutional support to bail them out, and how we become survival of the fittest. So the future is not pleasant, but how do we tide this crisis, and how do we really assimilate well in this new normal for us to really make a new beginning, a fresh beginning?
Fair enough. Fair enough, Sarika. And when you say near term, would you would you mean 6 to 12 months, and medium to long term anywhere from 2 to maybe 5 years? Is that a number? I mean, just to give something in the minds of those who are.
Near term will be 3 to 6 months, and medium to long term will be 6 months, and you can take it to 1 year, 2 years till the time this problem is there.
Crisis. Got it.
Hopefully we come up with some vaccines, which many of the researchers and doctors are working on. And once that comes, I think we will set back to the normal course. It will be a long drawn process. The sooner we do it, the better it is for the complete mankind.
Understood. Understood. Thank you, Sarika.
So coming to the future tense, so which are the few risk sectors? And all of you would be knowing. So the sectors which will really be impacted are travel, hospitality, retail, the entertainment sector. Like people may not go to the theaters to watch, so it will be the Netflix and the Amazons and the Hotstars which will really take the space. The restaurants which are really going through a lot of concerns. And people are really now sitting in a cell, cocooned, and really coming out with innovations. Like Domino's Pizzas is selling the essentials, the potatoes and the onions. Yesterday we went to a Domino pizza and we picked it up actually, which we had never thought. We knew Domino's only for pizzas. And the real estate. But I have a friend in US who is big time into real estate, and yesterday she was chatting with me and she was telling Trump in US has announced that real estate is an essential service. Very interesting times, as you can see. In terms of the risk jobs, the front office, the sales, all kinds of support, HR itself is a support, and where we have lots of contractors. So if you ask me, while taking tough decisions, it will always be the large number of contractors in every enterprise who will be first targeted to move them on. Because at the end of the day, it is the profitability which we focus on.
Absolutely. So, Sarika, if I could ask you one quick question here, what as an HR professional and a very senior one at that, what's the advice you have for those who are currently contractors or in any of these at-risk jobs? How can they sort of manage the next 6 to 12 months and ensure survival at a very least, if not growth?
My point is, one is it's a big setback for them, exactly what is happening with the migrant workers across. There are many people who want to go back to their hometown, but the trains have still not started. Hopefully it's going to start tomorrow. They are waiting for the other means of transport when it will start. So many of them will go back to the hometown. But my only point over here, if I would have been in that position, coming from a learning and development, I think I should continue to learn a lot of skills. If I was a driver and now my manager or my boss or supervisor is not going to the office, what else can I do? Right. Can I be a delivery boy of a Swiggy? Can I go and join a company where they are focusing a lot on essential services, but they do not have the manpower? How do I really keep myself? So it will become survival of the fittest, and it will be very, very key for you as a person to be self-aware, to know your strengths and what else can I do.
So whatever level you're at, whether you're at a driver's level or a delivery boy or a clerk or even a mid-level professional, I think the key mantra here really is constantly upskill. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself completely redundant.
You said it well, Tony. We have to constantly upskill, reskill, learn, unlearn, and relearn. And this applies to people at the bottom till the leadership level.
Understood. And the good thing is, Sarika, that in today's day and age, and you know this probably better than everybody else, there is so much content out there. There are so many, the Coursera's and the Udacities of the world, and there's even so much free content available. I recently read somewhere that Harvard has made a lot of its courses available during the COVID crisis. A lot of courses, I think, somewhere between 50 to 100 courses available at no charge. Now, where would one really get the opportunity in life to learn from Harvard other than in a situation like this? So there's lots to learn, there's lots to do. I guess we just have to grab the opportunity.
We need to grab the opportunity and we need to stay relevant. We cannot get into the complacency factor that let the office open, let me go back to office and then I will start my learning.
Fair.
Team, my only advice over here is as much as you can learn. And like Tony said, that he took the example of Harvard, but there are many, many links where you can go and keep yourself engaged, you can keep yourself committed, and you can keep learning. So a few leadership guideposts, what organizations should do in the midst of this storm, because each organization has a different business model, be it IT, be it ITAs, be it pharma, or be it manufacturing. All our directions are different. All our boats go to different directions. But if you look at the DNA and the fabric, we focus on production, we focus on talent, we focus on customers, we focus on technology, those remains the same. So what in Wipro we have done is we have a function called as business continuity function. And that function has been at the helm. And people from HR, operations, admin, IT, they have come around together to really ensure that 90% of our workforce across the 56 countries we are present in 6 continents, we are working fine. It took us 2 to 3 weeks to set it up. But believe me, the way it was happening, the seamlessness across the countries, I would say it was a best practice. At the same time, it was not only setting the logistics and ensuring that the people are getting their desktops and laptops and they are working fine. Right. How do we constantly keep in touch with the customers was the other important thing. So take care of the internal talent, take care of the external stakeholder. And around the same time, anyways, we are an IT industry, so focus is by default on the different technologies, but we really strengthen our digital capabilities. So we have lots of things like we acquire Top Coder in the L&D space itself. The way we use Zoom, we don't have Zoom, but we can download and we can, like now we are also going through the Zoom. We have MS, Microsoft Teams and WebEx. We completely used both these technology tools to ensure that whatever instructor-led training we were giving, now we are giving it through WebEx. It is business as usual for all of us and for my team. And we have a tracker, we track it weekly, we see where we should improve, what content we have to customize, and that's where the strengthening of digital capabilities happens every day as we speak. And at the end, and this is the most important point, which I personally believe, you have to strengthen yourself. The more we are positive, the more we can give our positivity to the larger ecosystem. Let's not get into the negative zone. COVID will come, COVID will go. We are telling statistics every day. The media is going on buzzing about the numbers across the globe in India or in our different states we are in. But let's be mindful about it, but let's not have our life just thinking about it. Because there's more, and thank you all for joining this webinar also, so that you thought that you will take a few key takeaways and de-stress yourself.
Fair, fair. Couple of questions, Sarika. One is that WebEx, you said, you're using a lot of WebEx for training programs. It's business as usual. So now that you've had a chance to sort of use WebEx as a tool for a lot of your training programs, how do you rate the efficacy vis-a-vis, in-person workshops or training programs that you used to deliver previously? I mean, is it exactly the same? Is it better? Is it a little less effective? How would you rate it?
A good question, and thanks, Tony, for asking this. Last week, we actually did a impact analysis because it's been 5 weeks we are working on a complete online methodology, and we have been leveraging it 100%. So we first thought that people prefer classroom training sessions, because always in classroom, you can actually interact, you can do lots of role plays activities. But in the WebEx training, we realized that, and more so, I will give an example of our diversity programs where we have 2 exclusive programs for our women folks, and really having a push versus pull, where people were not able to come and join us at 9 o'clock in the morning because they have to do so much of multitasking at home, so they were always getting delayed. And we were always thinking, what else can we do for our women folks? Believe me, every week now in both our programs, one we run for the foundational talent and one we run for the middle and senior management. In each WebEx session, we are having almost around 45 to 50 people. Fantastic. That is a quantum jump we have seen actually.
That's fantastic.
And in terms of both efficiency and effectiveness, we didn't see any difference. I think people are very happy that they are learning sitting from their home. Correct. There are facilitators coming proactively to tell them what they should know, what they should not know. And at least for the behavioral development team, which I head the charter, it has been a big plus for us. And I say that with pride. We have our systemic challenges. We have some bit of connectivity issues that we cannot help. But in terms of learning and giving it back and they receiving it, it has been fantastic.
Wow, that's very good to hear. So on this note, and before we sort of turn the page or turn the slide, I just want to ask you one last question, if I may, which is that, a very large IT major, TCS, recently announced that by 2025, I think they expect that 75% of the workforce will work from home. Now, every organization has their own ways and means of sort of doing this. But is that something that Wipro is thinking about? Is that something that Wipro has wants to sort of start a conversation about in terms of by 2025 or by 2030 we'd like X percentage of our people to work from home? And is that something that you feel is better for the organization in the long run? That's sort of the other piece.
Yeah, long question, big question. But Tony, I will just tell you how much I know about Wipro. So yes, all of us have read about TCS. Wipro, we are brooding over it. We have not come up with a big policy as part of our employee communication or to the outside world. But the way where we all are in, I think as an employee, I can say, if this is going to be the new normal and this is going to be a long-run process, I'm sure it's not only Wipro, but the other organizations who will come up with new business models in terms of structure, in terms of logistics, in terms of capital expenditure. Like you would have recently heard, it came out in the media last week, Wipro gave half of the office in Pune for a 450-bed hospital.
Wow.
And by 30th May, we will be giving it to the Maharashtra government. So there was a memorandum of understanding which was signed by Uddhav Thackeray and the Wipro officials last week. So it came out in the media. That means we think it is going to be a problem continuing.
Yes.
And we thought from our sustainability perspective, from our Wipro Cares perspective, which is our NGO arm, let's help the different states in giving it to them because they are running out of space in hospitals and all. So that will start from effective 1st June. So this we had never thought about in my 17 years career in Wipro, that we will be giving one of our buildings to be a new hospital. So these are the new business models, and you may not, means I want to say that you may not know what's going to happen now.
Yes.
But I'm sure there will be teams working in different parts of the world thinking about the new business models. And Wipro may come up with a media statement sooner or later, like the way TCS has.
Understood. Thank you, Sarika. That's good to know.
So few people manager mantras. We are well on time, Tony.
Yes, we are.
3 things. One is resilience. Often you talk to any leaders across, you will be hearing a lot about this word resilience. It has really gained paramount importance during COVID-19. How do you really bounce back from this crisis? We talked about it in the previous slides. Be positive, have positive thoughts. How do you enable others in your own small ways? And how do you enhance your bonding and camaraderie with your team members? And it's more so your team members, if many of you are people managers out here, will be wanting from each one of you as a leader. So as an example, I'll give you that what I started doing immediately after we were asked to work from home is every Friday for 1 hour, it's not only my DRs, direct reports, but my entire team of 22, we join on WebEx and we really run our imaginations wild. We go complete full throttle on creativity. We bring in families sometimes into the meetings, and it's completely, thank God it's Friday. We share our challenges, we vent out our emotions, we tell what good things we are doing in life, be it for the society we stay in, be it for the lesser downtrodden, be it in terms of giving monetary things, non-monetary things, supporting each other and becoming stronger. And just to share with you over here, I have just penned down a story, COVID-19, a story to remember. For 14 years, I have been practicing yoga, but I never thought that I had it in me to become a trainer. So for the last 2 months, I thought it's a gift of keeping myself fit as well as to the larger mankind. So my entire siblings and cousins from across the country are joining. Across the world, I would say. There is someone joining from Singapore. And we do the yoga together every day for 6 days in the week.
Wow.
And I had never believed, Tony, that I had this inside me as a passion to realize it in a dream. And when it was COVID 2019. So I just thought I'll share it with you people. So whatever you are passionate about, I think this is the best time to unleash your passion.
Absolutely. I think that's wonderful. Funnily, and it's ironic that it's taken something like COVID-19 for us to reconnect with friends and family. And even though they may be in different states, cities, countries, but people are actually finding time, even during a working day and otherwise, they realize that it's important to connect with friends, cousins, families. I've never done so many calls on Zoom, WhatsApp, what have you, with my family, friends, cousins, you name it. Suddenly everybody is bonding is the main mantra.
And we have Zoom, WebEx, MS, always. We never thought that we will come together like this. You play games, you do a lot of things during the weekend. And from tomorrow, I'm actually starting a session with my team. So it's gift to mankind, gift to self, and serving the emotional well-being of all. So no money, no cash. It's just that it's my passion and I want to really, really take it big.
That's wonderful, Sarika.
The second one and the most important one, team, is communication. Communicate, communicate, and communicate should be the mantra during this time. Because if you do not communicate what's happening in the organization, if you are not transparent, you can also be vulnerable saying that I do not have this answer as a leader. And that's when your empathy comes out. And we should use this crisis as a catalyst.
Yes.
And here I'm saying it should be all positive. How do we inspire ourselves? How do we inspire others? How do we channelize our energy? And how do we really take a first mover advantage? It's not only to ourselves, but also for the enterprises. Like TCS coming up saying that 75% of their workforce will work from home, and that will be their new business model, and they will save a lot of costs. I think it's a very, very bold statement to me they have done, and that too in the media for us to read it. So I'm done with this slide. So now, as a typical HR professional, so what have we been doing in Wipro? One is, this is the time for performance appraisal. We are closing it. For all my team members, I did a VCon or a WebEx with a video call. If that did not work, a WhatsApp video call, just to have a face-to-face connection to talk about how the entire year has been in terms of their strengths, their areas of improvement, what should be our future forward direction, and priorities. And we also sent a lot of employee communication to the employees at large that you should have video calls with your managers while doing your discussion. And a lot of tools, as we have talked about, we have been using that because that's a new ways of working. And during this time, rather than being hyper, rather than being angst, how do we really show our calmness and being composed? Very, very important while interacting, be it one-to-one or one-to-many. And listening to your team empathetically. I think this is the time your team needs you the most, and you should be a leader and you should set an example for yourself.
Understood. Fair enough. And that makes a lot of sense, Sarika. I think more than anything else, clear communication and empathy are two things. I think people, they are really looking for their leaders to sort of tell them things as they are. I don't believe people today want everything to be sugar-coated. I think they would rather be told things as they are rather than sugar-coated, because how long can you sugarcoat some things anyway? So I think providing clear goals, guidance, and leading with empathy really are the mantras of today's leaders. Very, very valuable and good points, Sarika. Very helpful.
And I have given the tips in the below, so all of you can actually read it out. And if you like it, you can take it down as well.
We'll be sharing. This.
You will be sharing this, Tony? Fine.
Yeah, so people can actually kind of go back to it if they want to go through some of the other things that they missed out.
And just one last line on the previous slide, but it's okay, Tony, you can take it. As a HR function, and I presume most of you are in HR, just ensure that there will be a lot of employees coming to you people. You may not have a solution for everything, but remember that you are the corporate health custodians. At least you just give your shoulder for them to vent out their emotions. I think half of the problem will get resolved by only listening.
Agreed. That's very good. That's very good advice, Sarika, and I agree 100% with you. I think many times the employee is just looking for somebody to hear him or her out, and sort of just vent. That itself reduces the temperature of the person who's coming with the frustration. Allow them an opportunity to actually talk about what's really bothering them. And I think as HR professionals, sometimes our role is just to kind of serve as a buffer. Just allow the employee to kind of vent and sort of speak to somebody. Fair enough. Very, very valuable advice.
So 2 slides I will share with you, team, and I'm sure many of you in your own organizations would have done. What is the work from home dynamics or the ethos? And the first thing which we did in the first week of us working from home was to come out with a work from home guideline for the entire workforce, and we have put it in our LMS platform, which we call it as We Learn. Besides work from home, we also did 4 other e-learning modules so that many people during this time can go ahead, and these are 30 minutes to 35 minutes module to understand. So one was work from home, the other one was managing stress, third one was remaining positive, fourth one is empathy, and fifth one is more so for the managerial cadre, leading during these times. How do you lead as a manager or a leader? So we talked about the clarity of roles and objectives, very, very important. There should be no shades of gray. It has to be binary. It has to be black and white.
Right.
Because the more we are not giving clear goals and objectives, people will be in their own world thinking, anyways, I will not be meeting my bosses. So whatever I want, let me do it. So ensure that the expectation is really, really clear. We talked about communication. Even if you overdo the communication, it's absolutely fine. Sometimes you'll get tired of communicating. Just take a glass of water, take some rest, but continue your communication, good, bad, ugly. Using of technology, now it has become a passe. It's a must. Without that, we all are cramped. And we talk about here, one thing which I want to share with you, team, is on the mental health. All of us, we do a lot of things for physical health, but mental health of your teams is very, very important. And few of you will be going through people who are getting into a negative zone, into a depression. So, but ensure that these people have to be taken care of. If you have a lot of volunteers like we have, we call them Mitra volunteers, who have done a lot of work on psychology, for them to really, really come forward and support these people. Some people have crossed this stage, but they need medications. So we call up their parents and tell them to take them to doctors. So this is a real, sad case, but we have to face it as HR professionals, and we should really act with sensitivity out here.
Sarika, a quick question here in terms of mental health. I think that is something that, as HR professionals, one has to be very, very cognizant and mindful of. But in terms of advice for all the managers, people managers out there, not just HR professionals, but all people managers, how does one kind of gauge this? I mean, are there any red flags people should be looking out for? Or, how does one ensure that one's on top of, in terms of their team, how they're feeling, what their mental health situation is, all of those things? Or is it just sort of a gut instinct? I mean, is there any scientific way to monitor this?
So, brilliant question, Tony. And as a HR head, when I was handling the different business units in my earlier roles, we have come across a lot of these individuals. One is the individuals, sometimes they come to know they have a problem, or if they are going through some medications, they come and tell their managers or the line HR. Second, the manager sees some kind of different behavior erupting during group meetings, during the reviews, or a one-on-one meeting, and the manager feels that this person is really not in the right state of mind. And the third one is we get issues. Sometimes we get issues in POSH itself. We get disciplinary issues where the person will be going on blabbering without knowing what he or she is talking about. That's when we come to know that the mind is not stable and something is going on, and we keep on asking them. Sometimes we get it from them. When we cannot get it from them, we reach out to their extended family or to their extended colleagues and peers who know them better than we know. It's a very difficult situation, Tony, but we handle every case with utmost sensitivity is what I'm trying to say.
Fair enough. And that's good to know. And I guess this is something that every organization should invest in. as a part of their people manager training. What are the things to watch out for? Of course, how do you become a better manager, right? What are the tools you need? Communication, empathy, all of those things, respect. But also, what are if what are the red flags that a manager should watch out for in the event they find that some of their team members are behaving erratically, or another sign of depression, of course, is completely withdrawing into themselves and not speaking, not talking, not socializing. So all of these are red flags, and maybe that's the kind of training that organization should be investing in today as well.
And the last thing, besides the general tips, which I'll not go through, is the risk areas on IT. So as all of us are working from home, the cyber security and the way you are using the links, you are going to be extremely sure. Don't give your passwords to anybody. The basic hygiene I'm talking about. Ensure that you maintain a fine balance between your personal and professional work. Give equal quality of time to your family members, but equal quality of time to ensure that your productivity is met, because all of us are working and it's a job we are doing for which we are getting paid. So the security of the IT data and all is very, very critical. Coming to this slide, here I would talk about 2 points. One is the culture, which really, really becomes extremely critical because it's a new normal and all of us are working from home. So what kind of culture the organization should develop to make it a successful remote working model? So that's where we need to focus on from an enterprise perspective. Technology we talked about, so I will not dwell on it more. Each one of us, irrespective of the levels we are in, how do we become a role model? And coming to managing expectations, very, very critical, because what you talk on a call or on a WebEx sometimes may be taken very differently from the participant side. So how do we ensure that whatever we are talking, it's making sense to the other side, and the other side is understanding with the way we are trying to share it? And that's where we build a trust, and that's where we deepen our relationship, and that's where we manage the expectations as well.
Got it.
So the last 2 slides are my personal favorites, and I always thought that whenever anybody talks to me, I should share with them on how do you stay relevant at work and at home. One is what I have done personally is I have set a timetable for myself. For me, it's typical early to bed, early to rise. So I hit the bed at 10, 10:30 and I wake up at 5. Starts with my yoga, meditation. In between, I put in a little bit of Tabata workouts. If you don't know what is Tabata, you can check the internet. Very interesting. And that makes me completely sorted for the entire day. After my personal ablutions and all, straight at 9, you are at work. Have your meetings, take short breaks in between, spend some time with your kids, see what is happening at the kitchen, and again come back to work. And this timetable has really helped me not only in multitasking as a woman leader, in taking care of my teams, in pursuing my passion, and in giving the best to my job and the role.
Sarika, a lot of people, I've spoken to, they're all, and when you say this, you make it sound really easy. But there are a lot of people I know are struggling with the whole, work-life balance in terms of what, do the work at home, managing office work. To be honest, a lot of women are more, I've heard more women say this than men, because women say that, they're having to do far more at the home front than their spouses, if for those who are married, and so on and so forth. So it's just, it just seems like COVID times are tough times for some of us. And so what's the balance? How do you manage to get everything done in that clean neat, systematic manner?
So Tony, as a person, I am very organized and planned. And sometimes it does irritate me. And the way I said it, I know it is easy, but it's actually not easy. It's practice makes perfect. Even today, while I'm talking to you, I keep on practicing. And not that everything is like a typical Bollywood movie, straight that the way they show. There are peaks, there are troughs, but again, the self-awareness is something which I have developed over the years, where I know somebody is writing, there is no sound. Am I audible, Tony?
You're very audible to me, so it might be only for that individual.
Okay, fine. Thank you so much.
I would tell Venkateshan to just refresh their page, but my team will respond to them. Don't worry, Sarika. Go ahead.
Sure. So my only point is, it's nothing rocket science, Tony. It's your own personal practice. And this is to all the women folks in the call. No rocket science, just make yourself little planned, organized. And yes, Vaijanti, I have a domestic help and she is indispensable for me. And because of that, I would not give the credit to my parents or in-laws, because from day one, she is with me. And because of that, you are seeing me where I am. And Tony had asked me to share my success story. And I play a HR role at home. They also throw tantrums. I also give them salary hikes every year. It's a complete role you play at home also. But at the same time, you have to develop and give the values and beliefs to your kids and your anchor, who is your spouse, so that everyone knows how they can help each other to come together, converge, and give the best output.
Agreed. Multitasking, multi-skilled, consciously avoiding getting into arguments with our colleagues. All of these are obviously,
So I have covered it. We can move to the next slide, Tony. Yeah, personal and home. Here also I have covered a few points. Plan for breaks, plan for time with your kids, clear intentions on your work time. Like 9 to 12, I have told my kids and my other family members, no distractions. I have to give my time to the entire office work. And whenever I am with the kids and all, even if my office calls come, I tell them I will call you later. And that is where, if you just have that art of saying no, I think people will respect you. People will know that she will call you back. And then you continue from again, say 2 o'clock to a 6 o'clock.
Fair enough. And here, Sarika, I'll ask you. So are you able to say, not take calls of even, senior folks, your own manager, etc.? How does that work? Because that's always tough, right? You get a call from a manager or somebody very, very senior in the organization. Are you able to manage that as well?
Yeah. So very good question, Tony. And initially, when I started my career or when I was little young, we used to jump and run when our managers used to call up. But right now, the managers have become very nice, including me. So if I call up Neeru at 1 o'clock, my first question is, hope you have had your lunch and you're okay to take my call. Otherwise, give me a call after 30 minutes.
Fair.
It's that empathy you have to build in. Like right now, I have told my manager that for 2 hours, please do not call me. Anything you want from me, send me a mail. I'll respond to you after 12:30. It's the credibility you bring in. So you have to be dependable. You have to be credible. So the manager will come to know that yes, she is into something important. She will get back to me or give me the response after 2 hours. So if you talk it out like this, I don't think any manager will have a problem to me.
Understood. No, that's fair enough.
And the other thing is mindfulness. Team, I have been doing and it's the beginning of the meditation journey, and I just do it for 10 minutes. But I think every day I do the meditation, there is something new which I discover about myself. And that has helped me in really thinking very positively, thinking very differently. From when I respond also to people, I could see that I'm responding in a very different way and people are liking it. And I will not force all of you, but I think that's one thing which really makes us a very, very positive, you have a positive mindset or a mind frame. I really believe in the mindfulness and the pranayamas, which I do. It really helps. Mentally, it makes you very strong, very
Agree.
confident. And that's where, Tony, I think my energy comes from.
No, I think that is something that most people are now saying, and also, our sort of the pranayams, especially the ones that are focused on sort of the breathing, sort of yogic postures. Those are
Yeah.
the ones I think that that can also keep COVID at bay, right? So they say that it helps strengthen the
Right.
lungs, lung power, and possibly keep COVID at bay as well. So definitely makes sense for sure. Okay.
Tony
Um,
talked about the social strengths. And besides that, continue pursuing your hobby. If you don't have one, develop one. Sleep well. And
yes.
the last but not the least, please plan your personal finances well. Very, very important.
Hmm.
Tony, if you don't have any questions for me, I
I'm
will
done.
pass
Thank
the
you.
question to Neeru.
I want to just sort of ask one last question of you before I hand over to bring Neeru in. Sleep well. Lots of people are finding it difficult to get a good night's sleep. People are stressed. People are unable to just fall. I've read lots of I've got friends who are struggling with sleep, and that seems a little. It might seem a little surprising because in these times you would expect that people don't have to go to office, don't have to commute, so they would get a good night's sleep. So, any tips that you would leave for people or professionals who are unable to find it, to get a good night's sleep?
Thank you, Tony, for asking this question. And it's not that I'm a yoga expert like a Sri Ravi Shankar or a Baba Ramdev, but a real solution which has worked for many and which has worked for me is, and Tony, you can give it to your people who come to you.
Yes.
Besides the meditation, which is for 10 minutes, all of you can take down. It is Calm Meditation. It is an app. Or you just go to YouTube. It's a 10 minutes meditation. Every day there are different topics. One is how do you let it go? How do you make love and peace as your foundation? That is for 10 minutes. But before the sleep, I think the best medicine is Yoga Nidra. If
Yoga.
you Yoga Nidra, that is for 20 minutes. Any YouTube video you take, be it English or be it Hindi or whatever language, I usually prefer English. And if you go through that, just all of you can connect me and let me know, be it on LinkedIn or my email ID. Has it really helped you to move out from insomnia?
Wow.
Has it relaxed your body and muscles? And have you been able to have a good sleep?
10 minutes before you sleep. That's it, right?
20 minutes before you sleep for maximum benefits, Tony. And 10 minutes is what in the morning you can do before you start your day.
Understood. I think that's very, very valuable advice, Sarika. So definitely for all of those who are on this webinar and those who will watch it in the future, hopefully that should help them get a good night's sleep. So Sarika, there are lots of questions for you, not surprisingly. So we're going to come back to you. We're going to just sort of pick it up with Neeru on the wash piece and then come back to you for the questions.
Thank you, Tony.
Thanks so much. Hi, Neeru. So are you with us? Can you hear me?
Yes, Tony, I'm able to hear you.
Wow. Thank you, Neeru. So Neeru, for those of you who have sort of joined, Neeru is a senior manager and a member of the internal committee, which is the POSH committee at Wipro, and she's sort of been the key person on all matters POSH at Wipro. So she's really the ideal person to kind of take forward the next segment because this is a Rainmaker seminar webinar. We had to have a segment on POSH, so we have the anti-sexual harassment initiatives at Wipro and what they have done, and especially in the times of COVID. So, Neeru, over to you. If you can just kind of walk us through what how Wipro has handled POSH inquiries during the last couple of months of the lockdown.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Tony, for giving me an opportunity. And first, I would like to thank Sarika for giving a holistic view and a lot of learning. Sarika, thank you so much taking us through this COVID tide, I should say, and the best thing on the learning piece, what we should be doing. So coming to the POSH part of it, working from home, as all of us know, is now the new normal. And while at the same time of working from home, there have been some teething issues like data privacy, cyber security, and organization IT teams have rapidly addressed apprehensions about the safety of collaborative software and at the same time video conferencing tools. Now, from a POSH perspective, there are dimensions of workplace conduct and safety that are equally important. Given the broader dimensions and the boundaries, it is worth thinking about the virtual world of video conferencing and how POSH Act becomes applicable during this time. For an inquiry proceeding for sexual harassment, it requires detailed fact-finding, whether it's in a virtual mode or non-virtual mode, and forming of the panel, getting everybody together, looking into the timelines, and at the same time, ensuring that the security risks in virtual IT mode are addressed and we are safe and secure to take the virtual calls. So what we have done at Wipro specifically is we have come up with a guideline in two phases. The guideline which we have embedded together into two phases. One is from an employee declaration perspective, which comes as a vetted piece of information and a mailer from our legal and compliance team. Sorry, and the second piece is it with and leveraging on the technology piece for the virtual POSH meetings. So how we have done it is in two phases while we conduct the guidelines. The first phase is employee declaration, where we send in a mail a declaration to the employee with whom we are having the inquiry discussion. And the employee gives us an acknowledgement of that employee declaration form. It says that the employee will adhere to the norm and not do any audio video recording or publish it in the social media or update any of the information or change any of the relevancy of the information for the inquiry proceeding done on the virtual mode. This is one acknowledgement which we get prior to getting into a virtual mode inquiry. Now the second piece is leveraging on the technology. So we have done leveraging on the technology and divided it into 4 steps. So Anthony, we'll move to the next slide. Yeah, so while we discuss on the technology piece, we have to be very mindful while taking any of the virtual inquiry proceedings, and this is how we have done it at Wipro. The first thing is to take all the calls, all the inquiry proceedings through WebEx video mode only. And when we say WebEx video mode, that means everybody, each one of us, may it be the complainant, the respondent, the witness, the quorum, which is the core panel of the investigators and the IC members, everybody needs to be on WebEx video mode only. Now, the first step on the WebEx video mode is to say no to mobile phones, because mobile phones, anybody can do an audio, video, use any multiple number of apps which are available free on social media. So we say totally no to any usage of mobile applications, and we ask the employee to switch off the mobile. So mobile is totally eliminated from the inquiry proceeding. So the first step is to send a WebEx wipe invite. Now, what does this wipe invite do? We can have a generic WebEx video call as well. The specific wipe invite, you can take audio only through your laptop or desktop. The way we are connected in Zoom now, it gives us an option that do you want to take it through audio, through your laptop? And we say yes, and we are connected, seamlessly through our laptop. With WebEx wipe invite, give an option itself. The option on connecting from your mobile is already disabled with WebEx wipe invite. So we already set up a firewall there and discard the mobile usage on audio mode. Second step for us is to, get after sending an invite, everybody coming on the same mode of virtual invite, virtual WebEx mode. And before getting into the day of discussion of the proceeding, we centrally take it with the IT division from Wipro and get the assets validated and verified by our IT department. So what IT department will do, they will give us an information set of few parameters which we have defined, saying that this is the asset which is assigned from organization to the employee. So we will have an asset number. The second check which IT department will do to see at what are the softwares which are installed on that asset. Is there any irrelevant or unethical software which is not authenticated and can record on the audio video mode? That check is done. While these two checks are done by the IT department, so we get prior to our inquiry proceeding, this information is handy with us. And third step is, while we connect as a panel for the inquiry proceeding, the lead investigator does two steps. Here in step 3, there are 2 steps involved. The first step is, to get on the video mode, see that the employee sits in a confidential room. The way while we do one-on-one meetings, we do see that, the room, there is nobody else present in the room, how confidential is the room. You can check that, while you are on a video mode. Also, we ask employee to give us access to the system, share the screen with us, and lead investigator takes the control. The first step is to validate the asset, employee asset, to see that whatever information we have got from the IT division is employee sitting on the same asset. That means the call is being taken from the same asset and not from any other asset which has already been validated by IT team. The second step is to go through the task manager and to check the number of applications which are open at that point of time. We only ensure that only the WebEx is on, up and running on the system, and all other applications apart from WebEx are closed and the task is ended. That gives us an assurance that the employee is sitting on the same asset, taking the video mode, audio mode on the same asset, and all other applications which can be a threat, or which can have an audio video recording even after the IT team had checked it. We ensure that all applications are closed. We ask an employee to sit back, keep the phone next to the employee, and we also give a ring to the employee's phone to ensure the phone is switched off, and sit back and relax and keep hands in folded manner, and take up the inquiry and check with the employee. The employee is fine to go ahead with the inquiry proceeding. We also do a call recording, but this call recording is also only after the consent of the employee. If the employee is fine to get the call recorded, it's fine. If the employee has any apprehensions and doesn't want to go ahead with the call recording, then we will not record the call. But at end of every inquiry proceeding, we will send a detailed mail of the notes which are on record during the inquiry proceeding for employee to acknowledge the copy of it, which becomes a statement at this point of time during the virtual inquiry process. So these are the 4 steps, with which we do the inquiry proceeding. The rest of the process, the inquiry process and the SOP, which we have, by law and defined by our legal and compliance team, that remains the same. All the steps of the inquiry remain the same. And moreover, it is, while we do one-on-one inquiries, which we used to do in a confidential manner in office earlier, we used to check the body language equally. So that can be done now as well. And when all the panel members are on the video mode and all of us can see each other equally, keeping that social distancing. The only thing is that we are not one-on-one, but we are virtually seeing each other, and we are virtually, planning and taking up the inquiry proceeding in a faster mode, I should say.
So, Neeru, that's fabulous. I mean, what Wipro is doing in terms of using technology to effectively sort of handle hearings, posh hearings that come up, it's absolutely fantastic. I have just a couple of questions for you, more from a sort of tech perspective, in the sense that question one is with respect to mobiles being off. So is that do you physically verify whether the mobiles are off and sort of in a place where it cannot be switched on without your sort of know or consent in that sense? So is that something that you're able to kind of control?
What I can say at this point of time, Anthony, whatever to our best we can do in terms of while being on the video mode. The first thing is the employee has already signed the acknowledgement employee declaration form, which is itself a fear factor in terms of, while employee signs that I'm not going to do any unethical thing during the virtual mode or after or on sharing the information. And this is totally confidential, and organization can take any disciplinary action against me if I breach anything, right? That is one self-declaration from the employee. The second thing, to our best of knowledge, what we can do, why we are always on virtual mode on the video call. So we do check, we do ask employee to show us the mobile while the mobile is switched off. We do check, is there any other mobile available? We also we have on official records the number of the employee. We do call back the mobile and see that it is in switch off mode and ask the employee to keep it aside and there is nobody else in the room, and sit back, relax, and keep the hands folded. That's, to our best of knowledge, that is what we are doing right now.
I think that's what you've described, Neeru, is really the best any organization can do under these circumstances. You're pretty much tied up all the loose ends in terms of anything that an employee can do over and above this, they could do in the physical world as well, not just in the virtual world. So
right,
that's very, very helpful. Okay, so I think you've pretty much covered all the points with respect to conducting posh investigation or an investigation into an inquiry of sexual harassment fairly comprehensively. Is there any other sort of thoughts that you want to leave with the group before we proceed?
What I would like to say is that these are the guidelines in the earlier slide, which will continue even after this normal, and this is irrespective of the lockdown, because this is one of the effective ways on time management piece for the entire IC. So, because there are nitty-gritties of the complex scenarios which IC has to handle, and that is irrespective of the lockdown. And these are the guidelines which can be virtually used to bring in, because while we are back into even the office, there are some of the panel members which are not available at certain timelines, and this is where we can get everybody together and not required in person every time to go ahead on the inquiry proceeding. So this is the last slide, and we are very happy to share it. These are the learning capsules, and we wanted to give it as a learning modules to our audience, this time to the participants, so that they can go through it, and during the COVID period, on the resilience, their growth mindset, they are absolutely brilliant, and everybody can enjoy and have a happy learning.
Thank you so much, Neeru. And I'll request that you stay on in case there are any questions with respect to sort of your portion of the webinar. So I think we can move into the Q&A. I think mostly to begin with, they'll be for Sarika. And towards the end, if there are any for Neeru, we can pick that up. So Sarika, Bhairavi is asking what exactly you've done for women employees under your diversity program. I mean, it's a very generic question, but is that something that you can sort of answer in a nutshell?
Sure. So by the way, these two diversity programs are Your Career, Your Choice, which is for the foundational talent, the junior folks, and we focus a lot on the competencies. So what are the competencies required at that stage in the career for them to really grow up to the next level? Then we have another one for women in leadership, which is for middle management and senior folks. And that's where people with 10 to 15, 16 years of experience come and attend the program. That is again on 5 competencies, like whatever we have done a survey and found. One is on the networking, one is on the personal brand. So we have been doing that for the last 2 years. And why I said that they are able to come and join the WebEx sessions, but it was difficult for them to come to the classroom. Because Tony, what we have done is we have given them a lot of flexibility while running the sessions. So we start the session at 9:30 and not 8:30, which is our office time. So that we give them enough time to finish their household chores and come and sit. And every 60 minutes, we give them a break of 15 minutes or 20 minutes to go back and again do some household work or take care of the kids and come back. And that has really worked for them because they felt that Sarika and few of my facilitators who are women who does this facilitation, you understand this problem of ours and you have been able to be flexible. So flexibility is one of the thing which we from an organization side has applied and it has become successful.
Fair enough. Fair enough. That's very helpful, Sarika. Bhairavi's also asked, how can POSH be implemented during virtual times? Bhairavi, I think
answered it.
Neeru's comprehensive session, I think, sort of has answered that. But if you have a specific question with respect to POSH implementation, do ask that, and we can ask Neeru to sort of pick that up. Sarika, Sanjay is asking, given that we are all working from home, is it okay for employees to log in and log out at different times as per their home schedules? Or would you say that every employee should log in and log out at the same time? How has Wipro handled this? I know you've answered this in part already, but is there anything you want to add to this?
So our office timing, Sanjay, is from 8:30 to 6. But in this new COVID, all of us are learning, even irrespective of the levels we are in, what time frame works best for us. Like I gave my personal example that I log in at 9 because many of our meetings go up to 8:30. So over here, we are focusing more on the productivity and the impact each individual is giving to his or her job. There is no mandatory that all of us have to log in at one time and log out. Keeping the fabric of the office timing, which is our policy, it depends on you as an individual when you want to log in, when you have to do all the things you have prioritized for today, and when you have to log out. That flexibility has to be there for employees to become adaptable, for managers also to have the empathy. But the bottom line is the productivity, output, timelines has to be met.
That's key. I mean, there's going to be flexibility on the time you kind of start work, and the time you end, but you have to meet what's expected of you as a professional. I think there's no two ways around that, right? I mean, that's very clear in that respect. Okay, fair enough. Priya is asking, thanks, Sarika, for your insights into the current lifestyle. What are Wipro's plans to reopen its offices post the official lift of lockdown and have employees resume work? Has Wipro organized its offices for a sort of COVID era? So whenever lockdown lifts, post that, what are your plans to have employees resume work, Sarika?
So during the first, good question, Priya, during the first and second lockdown, We have been working a lot in terms of infrastructure, in terms of the do's and don'ts, in terms of the government's directives. And our offices, many of our offices are ready for post-COVID era. Just to tell you that after the second lockdown, when we had some relaxation for the lockdown 3.0, we have few employees in each locations, primarily which are green zones, actually going. You have to fill in two forms. One is the self-declaration form and one is the form where you have to give your Aadhaar and all. So we ensure that we completely have a SOP on that. And just to tell you, last week we had 100 people in our location, which is completely a green zone, who have got rejoined office. And talking about China, which I was sharing with Tony last to last week, we had 100 people in China who have rejoined office, taking care of the mask, the sanitizer, the basic things, the do's and don'ts, and the offices are absolutely clean and sanitized to deal with the post-COVID era.
Wonderful. So I think we are sort of ready, but I think the fine tuning of life in post-COVID era will happen as we actually resume work, and regulations and things might get tweaked over time once we start working. Very helpful, Sarika. Thank you. Renuka is asking, what about women with young kids, no daycare, ban on maids, as is the current scenario? Did Wipro face this issue with employees? How was it resolved?
Renuka, very pertinent question. And it's not only Wipro, but all organizations have different stages of women's life cycle. I know we have come to a stage where our kids are older or bigger and we are able to manage. But irrespective of young or old kids, kids are kids, and it becomes a little difficult. And that's where I talked about the timetable, the structuring, and sometimes it will not be feasible. I think a one-on-one conversation with your managers always helps. And I think managers also show equal amount of empathy. So whenever it is a good time for a review or a meeting, you can share it with them. But we have to live with the pain with no domestic maids coming in, no cooks coming in. And that's where we all are in the new normal. So my empathy is with all of you, but that's where I said there are peaks where you are at your best and there are troughs where you are at your lowest ebb. How do we make a fine balance, and how do we ensure that we are equally ambitious, we want to do our job done, and the understanding of the manager and the organization plays a big role over here. We did a lot of sessions through Zoom and through online for our, we have daycares for our little kids so that we engage the kids also. And mothers were very happy. So we got a mailer on that. I don't handle it personally myself, but yes, we keep doing a lot of things to ensure that the women with small kids really get some support from the organization.
Wonderful, Sarika. An anonymous attendee has posted a question about understanding your point about managing your time well, but given everyone's situation circumstances are unique, would you empathize with employees that are unable to maintain the work-life balance during?
I think I answered it in the previous question.
You've already answered that, Sarika.
And the anonymous attendee, whoever it is, I'm completely with you. And that's what I said. There is no rocket science. Whatever I have said is what I practice. And I thought I should share it. But yes, each one of us go through different points where we really, really think, when will we start going to office? More so men, because they had never been sitting at home for such a long time.
True. That is very true. All right. Anonymous attendees also asked if virtual investigations are allowed under the POSH Act 2013.
I will take up that, Anthony. And yes, they are allowed. We did our due diligence, and Supreme Court. If you go through and Google through, some of the investigations done by Supreme Court and how they are coming to the new normal, of getting the video conferencing and virtual modes done, and even setting up for some of the urban areas where, in some of the locations where complainants can come and they can see them virtually. It is allowed, and you can Google it more for the more information.
Absolutely, Neeru, spot on. I think even courts are functioning in a virtual fashion, and there's definitely no bar on the internal committees or ICs functioning through the virtual investigation process. Sujata Nabar is asking, Wipro team.
Tony, before you come to Sujata, I think there are a lot of questions in the chats from Vaijayanti, and we can cover that as well.
We will cover that as well. I just wanted to finish off these questions, but I think Sujata's is the last one in the Q&A piece. Then I will move to the chats and quickly skim through that, because I think we're also now running out of time. So we'll cover as many as we can from the chat side. So Sujata is asking, Sarika and Neeru, this is a well thought through process. Is it possible to share the employee declaration online form? Are there any employee communications for POSH done, especially for POSH in COVID situations? So two-part question that Sujata is asking.
So thank you, Sujata. And yes, really appreciate. And I think you would have, while you went through the process I have taken, you would have well appreciated it, because there is a lot of thought in which has gone in, because we collaborated internally with multiple teams, looking into the risk management team and our IT team, and it has taken us to give a holistic picture of how we could make it security risk free process on the inquiry proceeding. Coming to the employee declaration form, I should say, we have got it vetted and created by our internal legal and compliance team, and it is IP of Wipro. And I would suggest that you can equally get it done through your legal and compliance team from your organization, because it is organization to organization IP, which cannot be shared, openly in the forum.
Thank you. Thank you,
We
Neeru.
continue to share the mailers, Neeru. I think that was her second question.
Yes. And we continue to share the mailers, and the mailers on global communication for POSH. We have been doing it on monthly basis. That always goes on. There is a knowledge mailer which we share with our internal IC teams and the evangelists who take up the sensitization session across globally for Wipro. And internal guidelines, there has been a lot of communication. There have been a lot of sessions done internally with the IC to give them a hands-on experience on how to conduct these inquiries in a virtual mode with the video conferencing on.
Wonderful. So I'm moving to the chats. Thank you, Neeru, for that. And lots of feedback. Sarika, lots of compliments for you. I think a lot of folks have found the session to be very useful, very inspiring. So, thank you for that. I'll dive into I'll pick out some of the key questions. Namrita is asking, how does Wipro handle violence issues, complaints faced by women employees, by her spouse at home? As domestic violence cases are on the rise during this lockdown phase, have you faced any such issue from any employee at Wipro? Is this something that you've dealt with?
From a POSH perspective, Namrata, we have not received any such cases. And just to give another question, I think Vaijayanti had asked Neeru also, has the POSH cases increased during this time? The answer is no. But like you said, I have been reading articles also on the domestic violence, and it's on either side actually. So that's another interesting part. It is not only that there has been a rise in those sites of Tinder and all, not only by men, but also by women, because people are getting so bored sitting at home that these are the things which has been on the rise. But whenever any domestic violence cases come in, as a Wipro organization, we tell them to handle it at their end, or they have to take it to the court of law until and unless it is affecting our work output. And that has been a policy previous to COVID and during COVID as well.
Fair point. It is unfortunate that there are so many cases of domestic violence that are now coming in. I guess we have to recognize the fact that fact that lockdowns can be difficult, can be tough mentally and physically on the people, because you are in constant sort of touch with somebody 24/7, 365, and that's not always the easiest situation to be in. So let's I think all of us have to be mindful and maybe sensitive to that aspect as well. So
Anthony, there is a question with the Vaijayanti has been asking, so I would like to address.
Please go for it. Yeah.
So there's what Vajanti is saying. Vajanti, your first question has been answered by Sarika. Like, have the cases increased in COVID times? The other thing you are saying that many companies either under-report or the environment through enough for employees to complain, but Wipro record high number of cases due to the transparency and good policies, and of course leaders. And any tips on this? So I would like to say, Vajanti, that Wipro as an organization, we are very transparent, and we do a lot of sensitization, which and we are very approachable as an organization for employees to come forward and raise the concern, because we have a zero tolerance policy and we have a gender neutral policy on POSH. So we have never shied upon reporting on the cases in our annual return filings as well. Because while a lot of sensitization is already happening in the organization, employees are coming ahead, and at every level the employees are coming in case there is anything they feel that it is unethical, and we take a proper corrective action on that. So looking into the workforce, the number of employees, if you see globally for Wipro Limited, and the number of cases which have been reported in annual filing, I think that should suffice at this much of workforce which we have.
Absolutely. So I think we've pretty much covered most of the questions. I was just skimming through most of the questions. I think we've covered most. Gaurav is asking, can't click on the link for YouTube. Gaurav, just access it by that topic that you find. We will be distributing this this presentation as well. We'll be making it public. So just type in the topics, performing under pressure, growth mindset, resilience, adapting to changing times, etc. You'll find the YouTube video that that Sarika and Neeru have shared with us. So that shouldn't be challenging for you. You should be able to get hold of that.
Tony, Sudhir
Yes.
has asked a question. Physical work cannot be done without opening up of lockdown, as the operators and skilled workforce has to be at site to do work. It
Yes.
has to be a rethought how to live with Corona and not versus leave Corona. Brilliant question. But Sudhir, to answer your question, yes. And that is what the organizations across the different sectors are planning in terms of what kind of new standard operating procedures, what should be the new norms in terms of having people. Like yesterday I was reading, Indigo Airlines will start, we have 6 seats, Tony, there will be only 2 people sitting on either side.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Okay.
These are the few new changes in terms of processes, in terms of policies, in terms of practices you will see in every sector, because life has to move on, life has to go on, and we all need to really know how to live with Corona. I liked your last line actually, because Corona is not going to leave us now for some
Yeah,
time.
it's not going anywhere. That's true. But that it probably means that air travel is going to become prohibitively expensive.
Yes.
The airline has to just keep 2 seats for every 6 seats. Then you can expect airfares to go up by at least a factor of 3, 4, 5 times, if not more. So that's it is what it is. That's the new world that we live in. I think that's it. Really, everybody is. I think we've covered most of the questions, so we can end the webinar. Any sort of last thoughts that you want to leave with everybody, Sarika and Neeru? Any last thoughts before we close the this particular webinar?
Thank you all for joining this, and thank you for all your feedback and compliments. It really makes me personally happy that I have given away, and thank you, Tony, for inviting both of us. During this time, to share with her larger participation base. My last tagline is miles to go before we sleep, miles to go before we sleep. Stay positive, be self-aware of yourself.
Thank you, Sarika. Thank you so much. And I just wanted to thank Neeru and you for taking time for this session. I know how incredibly busy both of you are, and I know how much you need to get done in a day. So you've obviously sacrificed something in your day to make time to spend with us. So I can tell you, speaking for all of us at Rainmaker and everybody who's attended this wonderful webinar, thank you so much. It's been an eye-opener. There's a lot of little nuggets, gems that you've shared with us. And for all of us who aspire to work in large organizations like Wipro, I think these are all useful tools to keep in mind and keep handy as we navigate COVID and other such challenges that may come before us. So once again, thank you so much. Thank you for making time. Thank you for joining us. Stay safe, and I look forward to meeting you soon whenever whenever all of the restrictions are lifted and one can travel once again. But in the meanwhile, thanks so much.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you so much, Tony. Thanks.
Rainmaker team. Thank you.
Thank you.